Alrighty. So I wanted to pop on real quick to give a little financial lesson to some of my critics out there. So yeah, I've taken a lot of flack from uh, others in the Christian community here in YouTube land that have tried to call me a snake oil salesman because I sell insurance and all of that. So, anyways, I figured I'd take this opportunity to show you what a real, actual snake oil salesman is like. So many people are familiar with Dave Ramsey and cherish his advice. And I want people to see, this guy's a total shill. And anyhow, we're gonna get into that. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. I thought this was a great video, actually. Because Dave Ramsey has a particular little slogan for you to buy term and invest the rest. So first, I want to show you why that is. When anyone else with common sense uh, would would totally disagree. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Why would I, every day that goes by, the odds go up that I will die. So now, when I reach 65, that's when you guys cut me off on my term. And now I'm standing there with no insurance when it's more probable that I'm going to die. So, I mean, this is ridiculous. Well, you should already have built up a retirement by then. What an idiot, dude. This guy's a total moron. But let me show you why, the exact reason why, because the largest sponsor for Dave Ramsey's show is Xander Insurance. And here's Jeff Xander.
Well, there's always a lot of questions about term versus whole life. It's one of the most frequent calls or emails that we get from Dave's listeners. And the main element related to it is what's the best value, what's the best way to go. And as Dave has always talked about, term life insurance, in his opinion and in ours, is the only way to go. And the reality of the debate between term and cash value is why do you need insurance in your later years? From a standpoint of life insurance, as long as you're premature.
Why do you need insurance in your later years? You should have been gambling in the stock market.
Your death is going to cause your family to suffer, you need life insurance. The real question about term versus cash value comes from the standpoint what's the best plan? What's the most economical way? And the thing that people got to remember is that you buy life insurance because you need life insurance. But then the typical cash value agent runs out and he's going to create all these other situations for you of why you want his policy, that type of policy, because of all the other things that it can do. And today with guaranteed level term insurance, one of the biggest complaints from cash value agents in theory is that term insurance is temporary. You're only going to be able to keep it for a period of time. But the reality is you can purchase term insurance now with guaranteed premiums for 15, 20, even.
Wow, what a fucking innovation. You know what I mean? Right there, he comes off like a total used car salesman. Nowadays, you can buy term for 15, 20, or even 30 years. That's how it's always been. Give me a break.
30 years. So in our book, term insurance is not temporary any longer. You've got some of the top companies in the country offering 30-year guaranteed level programs, and you can do a lot of financial planning and accomplish a lot of things in 30 years so that you really don't need to have life insurance after that point. So basically, that's why we say focus on term insurance.
See, what a fucking stupid ass idea. No, don't take this tax-free death benefit that transfers to your children, your heirs, completely tax-free. No, no, no. Go gamble in the stock market. And then, of course, we can charge estate taxes and all kinds of fun stuff on your gains and everything. How does this is not a smart financial plan. And, unfortunately, morons think that Dave Ramsey is a good guy. He's a Christian.
Get it on a affordable plan. Don't buy a lot of bells and whistles. We don't add on waiver of premium. We don't add on return of premium plans. These are all things that just drive the cost of term insurance up. So you need to be careful about the type of term insurance you buy, because they can throw some add-ons on there that raise the commission and raise the cost, which reduce your ability to use the savings to pay down your debt, establish emergency fund, and just stay away from cash value plans that just don't offer anything that's of value to an individual.
What a fucking retard. So, anyways, so now we're gonna watch a little. This is hilarious because this guy calls in to Dave Ramsey's show. He says something about infinite banking, but he clearly does not have a clue what infinite banking is. But he still takes Dave Ramsey to task, basically not knowing shit but the basics, and takes Dave Ramsey to task and gets Dave to where he's pretty much just resorts to ad hom attacks because he knows he's full of shit. So, anyways.
Not everybody fits the same little square box, but Dave thinks that you do. You're the little birdie that broke its wing with debt, and you got to get out of debt. So you go to Dave Ramsey, and he baby steps you out of debt. But then once you're out of debt, Dave says, no, little birdie. You got to live the rest of your life in this little cage that I gave you because I mended your wing. Come on, wake up, folks. You're being fed a line. I got two birds for you, Mr. Dave Ramsey. Bird 1 and birdie 2. Tweet, mother. So I came across this video with Dave Ramsey and a gentleman by the name of Jim calling in, talking about what he did for his son, which I thought was really honorable. He bought his son a whole life insurance policy to then teach his son the infinite banking concept, basically to teach his son how to be the bank. And I always love watching these because it just purely shows you Dave Ramsey's lack of knowledge about what the infinite banking concept is. But not just that, it shows his knowledge about whole life, but his lack of knowledge about...
See, Chris Nagel's going to be all nicey nice, but I'm telling you right now, this guy's biggest sponsor is Zonder Insurance, and the main product they sell is term life insurance. And I'm just going to tell you, as a life insurance agent, I can make the most money, the largest commissions on term life insurance, because you're playing against the odds. You have to realize every day that goes by, the probability of your death goes up. So this is why they'll get you to pay for it for a term, but then when you need it, you should have, you already built a retirement plan on all of that money you put in the stock market, into mutual funds, like Dave in his fantasy fucking world. Show me anybody that ever earned 11 to 12% consistently on their mutual funds. This guy's so full of shit, it disgusts me.
The uses of how whole life actually works in application. And I really want to point out the things he's right about, and I also want to point about the things he's wrong about, and I want to then meet in the middle and show you why really what Dave's saying doesn't matter at all. It's just him trying to act smart and stick to his narrative of buy term, invest the difference is the only thing anyone should do because that's all there is and that's it. So let's dive into this.
You claimed infinite banking concept was a scam and actually got quite pissed off about it.
Got quite pissed
off.
So
I do not agree with.
So now keep in mind, this guy that's calling in, he really has no clue how the infinite banking strategy, because that's what it is. You're just using a whole life insurance policy or a permanent life insurance policy as a specific type of instrument. Okay, that's the product. This is where Dave, he in my opinion, intentionally conflates the issue, because he knows he's making a shit ton of money off of all of the term life insurance they sell. For all the people that think that, Dave Ramsey genuinely gives a shit about them, which he does not. So,
with that and certain points that you made in that video. And I have set up a policy for my son when he was 1 year old. He's 5 now.
I'm sorry.
Right there. The father, Jim, set up a policy for his son, just like our parents did, our grandparents did. What an honorable thing. And Dave Ramsey's only thing he could muster up is, I'm sorry. What an arrogant piece of you-know-what. Anyway.
Say that again.
I said, I'm sorry.
And then he's laughing.
Yeah, so am I sometimes. No.
Real quick, I just want to preface that the first part of this, Jim said, I saw you do a video saying the infinite banking concept, which is a process, folks, not a product, is a scam. I want you to really take note how fast Dave Ramsey just goes right to the product, to the whole life. That's the key thing. The guy calls in about the infinite banking concept, and Dave Ramsey only wants to talk about product, because that's all Dave Ramsey knows. He has no clue what the infinite banking concept is or how the process works, and I've proved that. And
in my opinion, Dave Ramsey is being intentionally stupid on the subject because they make a shit ton of money on term life insurance. Straight up. His number one sponsor is Zonder Insurance, and that's basically all they sell is term. And I'm just telling you, because the insurance companies have a very high probability of you living past the term, so then they just get to keep all the money. You know what I mean? That's it. Sorry, sucker. If you would have died within the term, your family'd be doing well. But hopefully you plan for retirement following Dave Ramsey's advice. Here's the mutual funds you should pick that are apparently getting everybody 11 to 12%. Fucking full of shit.
Prove it even more today.
So I set that policy up for him when he was 1 year old. It has a $500,000 face value. We pay $5,373 a year for 13 years.
So first off, Jim set a policy up for his son, and a couple of the things I noticed that you might not is, when he's describing this policy that he set up for his son, he says, I set up a whole life policy. It's going to be funded for 13 years, so it's a limited pay, and it had a set death benefit of $500,000. So to me, knowing what we do, that means that Jim set up a normal whole life. It's not a specially designed whole life like we designed. But the key thing is I want you to understand this is just a normal whole life. Nothing like the ones we set up or the ones I set up for my daughter, Vivi. But yet it still performs really well, which you'll hear about in a second. So I want you to just keen in on that. Even though we're supposed to be talking about the process, all we're going to talk about is the product because Dave Ramsey has to be right. And we'll get into that.
There's a few points that I wanted to discuss that I just didn't agree with.
Okay.
Do you want to just kind of take one thing at a time?
Sure, that's fine. Sure.
Okay. One of the main things was that you claim that the cash value dies with you, and you only get the face value paid out.
That's true.
That is, it's not true if you reinvest the dividends back into the policy.
Dividend reinvestment is not cash value. Dividend reinvestment is because you have a mutual company and the policyholders are the owners of the company.
So here, Dave Ramsey's right. So Dave Ramsey's talking face value product stuff. He's not talking about the paid up additions rider. He's just talking the face value and the cash value. And I'm going to draw some things for you in a little bit, but I want you to understand that what Dave Ramsey's saying here is that the cash value dies when you die. He's basically referring to a basic off-the-shelf whole life with no paid-up additions. And then you'll hear Jim say the paid-up additions, and then Dave's quick response is dividend reinvestment is not cash value, which there, Dave Ramsey is wrong. Because when you take your dividends, which are paid out annually from a mutually owned insurance company only, not in a prior video, I gotta point out another thing Dave did. Dave doesn't even know which insurance companies are mutually owned and which ones are publicly traded, because he made mention to a publicly traded insurance company in the Infinite Banking video. But again, sorry to diverge, but he's talking about a mutually owned insurance company that pays dividends. And he's talking about the dividends being reinvested into a special rider called a paid up additions rider. I'm going to try to narrate this so that you understand what I'm talking about. Paid up additions rider is the sole thing Dave goes to and hones in on. So,
and here's the other problem is that, the IRS even sets what's called the MEC rules. So meaning that your cash value can never exceed your death benefit. Otherwise, they will rule it a modified endowment contract, and then you lose all of your loan privileges. Now, and that's important because loans can never fall under taxable income. Keep that in mind. So that's why this is important. And Dave Ramsey, being the financial expert that he is, should know that. So your death benefit is always going to be a larger amount than the cash value, and that's why you continue to buy those paid up additions in order to make sure that you still have more death benefit than you do cash value. So anyways, but Dave's, this is why I know Dave's dishonest, because they make a ton of money on term, straight up. And that Zonder Insurance is a broker too. So that's why they can hook you up with whatever you need. So they don't, they don't give a shit. Dave Ramsey don't give a shit about people's money. He's fake as fuck.
And so the profits from the company come to the policyholder, and they use that to buy paid up additions. That is not the same as keeping your cash value. That's buying extra insurance with your overpayment.
So he's absolutely correct there. So in a mutually owned company, the policyholders are the owners, technically the owners. Therefore, when the insurance company shows profits at the end of the year, they declare a dividend. That dividend is then paid back to the policyholders. Now, the insurance company calls it a return of unused premiums, because that's essentially what profits are. Dave poo-pooed on that, saying, oh, it's just a return of unused premiums. Yeah, Dave, that's why the dividends in mutually owned insurance companies are tax-free, buddy. Not a bad thing and not a bad way to do it. But now he's saying that's not the same as keeping your cash value. But although Dave's right in technicality, he's wrong in application, and I will prove it in just a moment.
But it still works out to be having a cash value much greater than the $69,840.
Because it's the death benefit, dumbass. The death benefit is more than always going to be greater than the cash value. So when you die, and even a much larger amount of money than your cash value will then go to your family. So this is why I think Dave Ramsey is intentionally dishonest. Look at his nice little jacket and stuff. I'm sure it's, the latest fashion.
So this is key. Jim says, Dave's saying, no, it's not. It's not the same as cash value. And Jim says, but it still works out to having more cash value. So now, just think of it this way, right? You get your kid a specially designed whole life, or just a regular whole life policy, and it has a death benefit, and the illustration shows a cash value. In the cash value, you can look at two different columns: the guaranteed column, which is no dividend, and the non-guaranteed column, which is guaranteed interest plus dividends, because dividends are not guaranteed. But the insurance companies, every single one of the mutual.
So I've reached out to Chris Nagel's group and talked to his right-hand man, Steve, and stuff. So anyhow, because these guys and I disagree on which instrument to use. So Chris Nagel and their group are all into the using whole life. I'm in the camp of using IUL, Indexed Universal Life. So, because it's a matter of risk. The more risk you're willing to take, the higher your returns will be. So this is where we disagree on which product that you should use in this infinite banking strategy. So, but anyways, I still like Chris. They didn't dig me when I started talking about Jesus. But anyhow, so but yeah, Chris does a great job of showing how either retarded Dave Ramsey is, or he's intentionally dishonest and has a motive to be dishonest about the infinite banking concept or strategy, because he's he's shilling term life insurance. It's where they make the most money. It's just that simple. He has a very strong motive for poo pooing on the whole life insurance position.
Have paid dividends every single year consecutively. And the ones we use, which are the top 5, they've never missed a dividend, and they've paid them out well over 140 years. So that's the column you look at. And when you look at that column, what you will see is you'll see dividend declared, so that year's dividend. You'll see it going into paid up additions, and then you'll see one column on the illustration for cash value, not 2, one column for cash value. And when the dividend comes out, the cash value goes up by the amount of the dividend. Okay, that's pretty simple. But you know what else goes up? The death benefit, which is exactly what this whole argument is going to turn out to be, is that dividends and the growth of cash value does not go to the death benefit. So when the dividend buys paid up additions every year, it increases the cash value and also increases the death benefit. Now, just give me one moment, and I'm going to draw that for you in literally 5th grade, as simple as I can get, so my daughter could understand this. But let's just let him finish his little rant here.
Actual cash value, not the paid up additions. The actual cash value dies with you.
No, because
yes, it does.
Okay, but
he said the actual cash value is not the paid up additions. Now, he's right in saying that. He said the actual cash value dies with you. Technically, yes, but not in theory, not in application.
Yeah, because you've got more death benefit than you do cash value at all times. So that's, it's just a stupid fucking thing to say on Dave Ramsey's part. If the death benefit is bigger than my cash value, then I don't ever lose a dime. I don't throw my money out the window like term life insurance.
Than your cash value. So for me, I looked at it
because you bought more insurance.
No, you bought more death benefit. That's what the paid up additions rider does. You're purchasing more death benefit, and and that's why, so that your cash value, the amount of what your dividends or whatever your growth rate is on the cash value, it cannot exceed the death benefit. So that's why you're always going to have more death benefit than you do cash value. Dave Ramsey should know this.
You know what a paid up addition is? A paid up addition is buying additional insurance.
I understand.
That's why you're getting more at death. Not because you got your cash value, but because you...
Right. See, he tried to, the guy that really doesn't know anything. Right. Because I have more death benefit than I do cash value, dumbass.
Used your policy dividends to buy additional insurance.
Right, but
that's different than getting your cash value.
So I got to point out this. It's interesting how Dave Ramsey uses his show to drive home just his narrative, just his point. And anyone that calls in to kind of just challenge it, he basically uses his platform, he uses his control to completely suppress the other person's objectives. And it's also pretty funny how Dave Ramsey has one way that everybody should do things, right? Buy term, invest the difference. Eat beans in rice and then rice in beans. It's not mix the rice and the beans and rice with a nice ice cream cone because you've been a good boy. No. It's just stick to his narrative. And the other thing, too, that you might not know Dave Ramsey also has the company that sells the term insurance. Another fun fact for all of you to know this is term insurance is the most profitable life insurance that insurance companies sell. Do you know why? Well, you're probably thinking, well, how can it be the most profitable? It's the cheapest. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. You see, the term insurance policies are for a term of time, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And because it's for 10, 20, 30 years, the actuaries at the life insurance companies know when you're going to die. They know when I'm going to die. They know when Dave's going to die within a very accurate percentage. So because they know when we're going to die, when you get underwritten for a term policy for 20 years, they know that you're not going to die in 20 years. They know that because of the actuarial tables, and they are so accurate that less than 2% of all term policies are ever paid out on. So if you're an insurance company and you sell a term policy, you know you got a 98+% chance of never having to pay that death benefit. So talk about profits. It doesn't matter how cheap the premiums are, you're still, as the insurance company, profiting the most because 98% of that profit you keep. You only pay out on less than 2%. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Not everybody fits the same little square box, but Dave thinks that you do. You're the little birdie that broke its wing with debt, and you got to get out of debt. So you go to Dave Ramsey, and he baby steps you out of debt. But then once you're out of debt, Dave says, no, 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 little birdie. You got to live the rest of your life in this little cage that I gave you because I mended your wing. You can't fly free. You can't explore other options. Oh, no, no, no. You got to stay in my little cage. Oh, and I'll feed you. I'll feed you term insurance. And then not only term, I'll let you buy mutual funds just from my certified financial advisors. Oh, and little birdie, they pay me a fee every single month just so you get the best financial advisors and best advice. Come on, wake up, folks. It's bullshit. You're being fed a line. I got two birds for you, Mr. Dave Ramsey. Bird 1 and birdie 2. Tweet, tweet. So I'm going to show this to you in the simplest way I know possible. I've been doing this over 20 years, but I remember back to 2003 when I was first explained how paid up additions work. And it's quite simple. So first, I'm just going to draw what a regular whole life insurance policy is. There's really two components. Number one, there's a death benefit, okay, which we all know. This is called face value. So I'm just going to write face value, because that's how Dave talks about it. He says the face value. Face value is death benefit. And number two, in a whole.
Here's an important point that I like to bring up with the type of policies that I design that these guys miss, is that the moment a multi-billion-dollar insurance company signs a contract guaranteeing to pay X amount of dollars on the day that you die, that's the face value. That's a piece of property right then and there. It's already an asset. So, and banks loan money against them too. So anyhow, it is a contractual piece of property. And I'll show you how real estate cannot touch what a policy, a contractual piece of property can do. So anyway,
life, part of the premium deposit goes into the cash value. Cash value is the liquid money that you have to use. So it's cashola.
See, my particular strategy is more about, also leveraging the fact that you're going to die for maximum, financial use while you're alive. I love this particular instrument because it allows me to use my money without ever spending it. And you'll soon see what that means.
That you can use anytime or you can take loans from, right? So that's it. That's a whole life. And then all you do is you're putting a premium into that whole life each year. That premium's buying a death benefit, a face value, and you're getting cash value out of it, right? That's how Dave Ramsey would understand whole life. Now, paid up additions, they talk about that a lot in this video. And I want to be clear, paid up additions are what we use when we specially design these whole lives to be used for the infinite banking concept so that you can become the bank. It's very important. It's a key element to designing the whole life for maximum cash value, which is what Jim was talking about for his son, right? Cash value for his son. And yes, they were talking death benefit, but Dave Ramsey went right into the product specific, saying the cash value dies with you and it doesn't go up or the death benefit is.
Real quick. So, key DDO, this is where I would caution people with the stock market, mutual funds, and all of the bullshit that Dave Ramsey pitches, because he's just a pitch man. So because people don't understand how losses work and why I value these policies so much, because they have something written into the insurance contract that you have 100% principal protection. Because, for example, if you have 100 grand in the stock market and it dips by 20%, well, now you have 80,000. So now the very next day it can go back up 20%, but now you only get 20% on 80,000, not your original 100,000. So now you're up to 96,000. So you just got clipped for $4,000 on the price dropping 20% and going right back up 20%. This is why you need to understand risk management. Anyways, it's a fucking casino, guys. And now with AI trading bots and all of that shit, nope.
And it doesn't go up by the cash value, a roundabout way. So let me show you paid up additions. So every single year, a dividend is declared, and that dividend is paid out in cash. And Jim or any policy owner can apply that dividend anywhere. They could take that dividend in a check every single time it's declared. But what most of them will do is buy paid up additions. And just like it sounds, and just like Dave described, paid up additions, you're buying paid up additional insurance. Great. So since we already understand what the insurance is, it's a death benefit and a cash value. When the dividend is declared and we
Okay, so Amicus, let me just show you how what this strategy would do would just enhance what you're already doing and eliminate your risk. So I'll explain soon.
put it to paid up additions, I want you to think of it like this. All we're doing is we're buying a little whole life. And every one of these little whole lives has a death benefit and cash value. And every single year, we just keep buying a little paid up addition policy, which also has death benefit and cash value. So every single year, the more we put into the paid up additions, if it's just the dividend, great. If it's part of the premium, remember, we design these anywhere between 60 to 90% of the premium deposit goes to the paid up additions. So as you can see, we can escalate this. So Dave Ramsey goes on to say that the cash value dies with you. But then Jim says, but I'm going to paid up additions and the death benefit and the cash value are increasing. See, all Jim sees is death benefit and cash value on his policy. He doesn't see death benefit in cash value of policy one and paid up addition one. It's all combined. It's all one component. So as more paid up additions are added and more dividends are paid, you are increasing the cash value significantly. But while you increase the cash value, you're also increasing the death benefit. So if Jim's child were to die, the death benefit that's paid out is not just the face value, as Mr. Dave Ramsey is saying. It is the face value plus all the additional paid up addition death benefits. Now, some of you might be like, that's what Dave's saying. But yeah, but at the end of the day, what is it that you want? You want the most cash value to use, and you want the most death benefit when you die for your family, right? So what is all this malarkey Dave's talking about?
Oh, you don't get the cash value and the death benefit are not attached.
Okay, let's get back into the video because now shit's gonna get real and Dave is really gonna put his foot in his mouth, or at least That's how I see it. I'd really like to ask your favor on something. Matter of fact, see that little button right there? It says subscribe. Please click that. And also there's a little bell up top. What? Smash that bell.
If you took those policy dividends and went and bought a term insurance policy for $100,000, well, you'd get $100,000, but that's not your cash value.
Well, I have a term policy.
I know,
my wife has
but
term
you missed my
policy.
point. Okay, you're talking about you use the policy dividends, you use the money they send to you because you're in a mutual company to buy additional insurance.
Yes, paid up additions. Yeah.
If you buy a term policy on the side for $100,000 instead with that same money, you would get $100,000 more than your face value, but that's not your cash value. That's additional insurance. They're different.
Right, they are different.
So he's just explaining the difference between term and paid up additions, which is all good and fine, but also inside the whole life, the way we build them, we almost always add a term rider. But Dave has never called me up and said, hey, Chris, you're doing such a great job. Keep adding those term riders to those specially designed whole life policies. Oh, no.
And term, you don't have cash value to borrow against.
I'm aware of that, but your point was that you don't lose the cash value, and my point is 100% of the time, by definition, you lose the cash value.
So
this poor guy debating here with Dave Ramsey, he doesn't understand the policy either. So, but that's where Dave is again conflating, like saying that you lose all of your cash value. No, you don't, because you kept purchasing a death benefit. That's why the death benefit continues to increase over time. So, fine, okay, great. I lost my cash value, but now my kids got this even larger death benefit. That's the whole point. You never lose your money this way. But he's, dishonestly deflecting from that.
I said tit for tat.
So Jim says tit for tat, and I think that's a really good thing right there that he said. I think it startles Dave, because it is. It's kind of tit for tat, because it is tit for tat. Dave's trying to drive home his point, which is completely pointless and really holds no water at all. It doesn't change anything. He's just trying to be right because of his arrogance. He just can't ever admit,
no,
all right, you're right. Maybe
term.
that was the right thing for you to do for your son. He just can't admit that because he's
insurance.
too egotistical and too just caught up in his own little
world.
He lives
to be 80. I'm looking at the
Look, most of my income comes from all of the suckers buying term life insurance that listen to my radio show. So I'm not going to stand for this. I'm going to start calling you names in a minute.
Read out here.
He's saying if his son lives to 80.
He only lives to be 80, okay?
All right.
The cash value will be worth about $2 million, but the payout for the death benefit will be $2.6 million. So, okay, technically, yes.
So you take
right.
the cash, you're taking your policy dividends and go buy term insurance with it, and you would have more than you're talking about.
So what Dave's saying, if you took your dividends and instead of buying paid up additions, if you bought term policies, you'd have more life insurance. Dave is absolutely correct there. You'd have a lot more life insurance, a lot more useless life insurance that, like I explained earlier, would never pay out because less than 2% of all term policies ever pay out. So Dave is, again, driving home a narrative of something that more than likely would never happen. He's just saying you'd get more life insurance by buying.
Okay. So, I mean, I agree with you on the first part of your comment, but then when you say he advocates for saving money, well, I would advocate for saving money too. But I'm going to show you I'm saying I mean something different than what you think when I say, you should be saving money. There is an old adage from our ancestors that it's not what you make, it's what you save. You know what I mean? You can make $1 million a year, but how much do you have saved up now? Nothing. You know what I mean? Because you just spend all your money like a fucking idiot. Yeah, that's why you do need to learn how to save money, and that's why you need to put it into the correct type of assets. So Elon Musk is smart. He always holds all of his stock and then takes loans against it because loans cannot fall under your taxable income, so he doesn't get taxed on any of that money while his stock price keeps going up and up over the long term. So he can just take loans against for him to live and do whatever he wants to do. You know what I mean? And never pay a penny of tax because loans cannot fall under taxable income. There's the loophole. Now you know.
Term, he's absolutely correct. But does it matter how much more life insurance you have? Doesn't it matter how much life insurance pays out the day you die? Isn't that what we're all doing this for? Don't we want our families to have more money the day we die? Not do we want to go to our families and say, hey, listen, I got lots of life insurance. It's all term insurance because Dave said buy term. But here's the bad news. I got to die next year in order for that term insurance to pay out. So let's think of some ideas here. Is that really the conversation you want to have? Because that is what Dave thinks the conversation should be, or he just doesn't think.
You would have more than you're talking about because you get a better buy on the insurance than you're getting with this rip-off whole life crap.
Yes, you would get a high, but you wouldn't be able to use it throughout your life as your own bank. And
well,
I think that's
okay. But here's the thing:
the big thing
that's a side issue. That's a side issue. But your first issue was, he's going to have all this money at retirement.
I have no idea where that discussion came in. You're going to have more money at retirement. I don't remember Jim ever saying anything about retirement at all. Dave just interjects into the conversation retirement. Like there was no discussion of that. The discussion was the infinite banking concept, meaning Dave has no understanding of what the infinite banking concept is. I've proven this time and time again with multiple Dave Ramsey videos. And here, yet again. And I'm sorry, just full transparency disclaimer. This is about the point in the video where I start to get really pissed off. Oh, you thought I was mad up to this point? Nah, I was just messing around. This is where I get really upset.
$5,000 a year for 13 years. Do you know what that would be in a mutual fund?
I don't know, Dave. Why don't you tell me what a mutual fund that would be?
At age 88, it would be $25 million, dude.
I just don't know where he comes up with $25 million. But
just totally like,
well, he's going to have that
$25 million, dude. Well, fuck, then everybody should be just crushing it in their 401ks. But for some reason, they're not, Dave. Why is that, Dave? Why?
Anyway,
no, instead of putting it into this rip-off thing and making 4% on your money, and when he dies, he loses his cash
4%.
value.
Don't know where that comes from.
Look, this is the same bullshit that you see in Christian debates, all right? In religious debates, it's the same thing. And this is why the most dangerous cult of all cults is the cult of personality. When you literally assimilate the shit that you believe to your personality. That's, you know what I mean? And Dave Ramsey has bought his own bullshit for so long. He is under the curse of the liar. The liar will believe his own lies. That term is a terrible product. Straight up. If you do the math, it is a total fucking waste of money. Because if you want to buy a term policy from age 65 to 80, which is the most likely period that you'll die, oh yeah, it'll be like a $12,000 a month premium. You know what I mean? Something stupid. So, when you need life insurance the most, otherwise you can just invest it in the stock market. Hopefully you got a good nest egg built up by the time you die. And then you can give that to your kids after they pay their estate taxes and everything, of course, rather than a completely tax-free death benefit.
This in a good mutual fund, you'd have 100x, 10x the amount of money. And
you wouldn't.
Wow, fucking Dave, you know what I mean? You You know what I mean? We don't need Warren Buffett anymore. It's just an insane, stupid comment. Nobody, any normal like financial advisor would say that's very optimistic, Dave. You're extremely optimistic if you think people in mutual funds are just consistently getting these 11 to 12%. That is total malarkey.
Sure,
and he's making false claims.
But we're only putting in 70,000.
So there you go. He's putting in 70,000
That's
total.
how present value formula
And then Dave
works
Ramsey goes to this
in
present
finance.
value calculator.
Look, let me just take the same.
I mean, I understand.
Let's intellectually deal with this for a second. Okay, take the same amount of money when you get off the air and put it in a financial calculator at 11% and pretend it was invested in mutual funds and see what it is when he's 88 years old.
It'll be more.
A whole lot more.
A whole lot more, he says. Assuming that you fucking make 11% every year, that means the market just continues to go up all of the time. It's ridiculous. So, and then again, your money's trapped. Your money's not liquid. You want liquidity. That's why with these policies, you're always liquid. Your cash value is your liquidity, dude. It's boom. You know what I mean? I can take a loan against my cash value, and then I'm borrowing the insurance company's money against my cash value. So it's their money that I'm using while my money sits there and gets uninterrupted compounding interest. Yeah, but fucking brilliant Dave Ramsey here.
And he'll have that too. With this, to me,
I can't disagree with Dave here. If you took the $5,000, put it into investments, and you just left the money there from whatever age the kid is all the way till age 80 or 88 that they're doing, it would have more money than the specially designed whole life would. But Dave, again, doesn't understand the infinite banking concept. So in a second, I'll show you how you could do exactly what Dave's telling him to do. Take money and put it into investments in a mutual fund, and it would be worth a lot more in that amount of time. That's if the kid never takes the money out of the mutual funds. That's if the kid doesn't need it to buy a car or a house or anything else. He's just got to leave it sit in those mutual funds until whenever, Dave Ramsey tells him to, because remember, he's locked in that little cage. But here's the thing. Now, just imagine this. Where did the money come from to invest in those mutual funds in Dave's little mind? Came from a bank account, right? Or maybe the envelope Dave always does, the cash in the envelope. But the money came from somewhere. So all we're talking about with the infinite banking concept is changing where the money starts. It starts in the specially designed whole life. Then we take the money out of the whole life, and we could invest it in mutual funds if that's what the client, or in this case, the kid wanted to invest in. But
so he's saying you put the money into your insurance policy first, then you have guaranteed principal protection. And, I'll explain that here soon because, again, these guys are in the whole life camp. They use whole life policies. I prefer the permanent life policies that are attached to indexed universal life, which means that a percentage of your premium goes towards your cost of insurance, and then a larger share of your premium will then go into an indexed fund. So anyways, so when the market's doing good, you make large interest, you get interest credits on your money. So, my client's doing very well. Very happy with the returns he's seeing because the particular products, the policies that I design use the S&P 500 index, which to me is the most smartest because that's the top 500 companies in the country, or it could be global if one's going down, another one's coming up. So you always have the top 500. That's why it's the most consistent. So, anyways, and you can earn some large interest credits with the type of policies that I design. But anyways, sure, I can put the money into my policy. Now it's protected. Now I'll take a loan against my cash value to go ahead and put it into mutual funds. But now I have principal protection on my original money. I'm using the insurance company's money to go put in mutual funds while my money's getting uninterrupted compounding interest. It's always safe. So even if the mutual funds don't do so well, I still got all of the performance in my policy.
We never stop earning interest and dividends inside the specially designed whole life. It's uninterrupted. So we make interest and dividends for that entire period of time on the whole life and all the money. And then we make money in the mutual funds. And the only differential in the middle is the interest the insurance company charges you, which is nominal because you're already earning more than that inside the whole life. You get to make money twice on the same dollar. You get to make money and spend money at the same time. If you do Dave's model, buy term, invest the difference, you can't do that. You're buying terms, you better die. You better die, little boy, in that time that your term goes till. Otherwise, you're not going to have any life insurance at all because the insurance company is going to win. But then you're going to have all this money in this mutual fund. God forbid that the market's down when you want to take it out. You're not going to want to do that. God forbid you don't pay your taxes or you're going to have a huge tax hit.
God forbid you actually examine all of the fees that you pay in your mutual funds. So, you know what I mean? Don't want to take a look at that. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
$25 million and all of its gain. Yeah, that's a big tax hit. Inside the whole life, the money grew tax free. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to tell you is you can have both. This is not.
See, that's another huge, benefit to these type of policies is all your accumulation is tax free. So you get tax free accumulation. And now if you take the money out as a loan for like your retirement living expenses, because it came out as a loan, it cannot fall under your taxable income. Tax-free retirement. But it also has many other uses. This is, it's, protect my money to get and let it get uninterrupted compounding interest. Let me use the insurance company's cheap money to go ahead and, buy that car I want, buy that house I want, invest in whatever I want. And now, my money's working in two places. That's the whole point of, why they call it be your own bank. Because your policy becomes you're playing the same game that the banks play because you have leverage. You have access to cheap money. You know what I mean? If I'm earning 24% on my money in my policy, and they're going to charge me 4% to borrow their money, I'm still making a 20% spread. You see what I'm saying? That's the whole, that's why this is a way better way to do things.
A case where Jim or Jim's kid has to decide.
A quiet revolution is happening among high net worth families. They're moving to gold. But what if you want to gain exposure to the gold economy through a revenue-generating operating business with...
Oh, should I?
See, and you could put your money into your policy, then take a loan against the cash value and buy gold and watch it, or silver or whatever, so that now your money is earning in two places at the same time.
Should I buy term?
And my original principle that I put in my policy can never be lost. You know what I mean? I can lose the insurance company's money, but not my money.
Invest the difference, or should I do the whole life? Or should I buy the whole life and invest in Dave Ramsey's magic mutual fund? No, It's buy the whole life and the investments with the same dollar. You see what I'm saying? The money just goes into the whole life, comes out of the whole life, and invests whatever you want to do with it. Buy cars, do anything you want in your life. You can do both with the infinite banking concept. But Dave doesn't understand the infinite banking concept. But yet in the beginning,
no, he fucking understands it. But I'm telling you, you make the most money on term life insurance as an insurance agent. I don't sell it. I think it's fucking garbage. I think it's a dumb thing to do with your money, because when you need life insurance the most, you can't have it with term. They will not sell anybody like over the age of 65 a term policy. Why do you think that is? Because the probability of you dying is going way up. That's why your premiums will cost more.
said infinite banking. Now let's just get through the end of this, because now I'm getting fired up, and I'm going to try to hold my composure. I'm going to put my glasses on so I stay calm.
That's called opportunity cost on your money. You put it into something that's going to make him at 88 have $2.5 million, and he should have had $25 million.
Again, Dave's debating $2.5 million and $25 million and acting like one or the other. You got to pick one or the other. You can have both.
Because you screwed up and put it in the wrong thing.
Well, when we screwed up and put it in real estate too, and he's going to get real estate.
Well, then put the money in real estate.
And then he goes, real estate, same thing. Put the money in real estate then, Dave says. Well, this Jim guy doesn't see. Dave's controlling the narrative because it's Dave's show. I get it. But Jim could take the money, put it into the whole life for the kid, and then take the money out of the whole life and buy real estate and get the same thing, but still have all of the money growing, still have the death benefit for the rest of his life. Folks, listen, as I keep saying this, if you want to learn more about this, then definitely get a hold of us. Put a comment below, and then we will call you and walk you through why Dave is wrong. I know everybody wants to.
And I'm going to show you why you'd rather call Brother Brandon. Because I've even talked with Chris's group. I didn't talk to Chris direct. I talked to his right-hand man, Steve. And I'm just saying, we're in different camps. We disagree on, what's the better instrument to use for this particular strategy. So, but I still like Chris and all of those guys. So anyway.
Believe Dave, that's fine. Believe Dave, but let me prove to you that Dave Ramsey's not right, and I can prove it mathematically. Put a comment below. I don't care if it's good, bad, or not. You can hate on me all you want, because all my haters, you need hugs too.
Hey, if you've got $25 million in mutual funds, you can borrow against it.
But he's going to have to wait until he's retired to get that amount of money.
Okay, so you're going to teach him
you guys
that
see
the way
Dave
he becomes
kind of pick his
wealthy
nose?
is borrowing against money that his father invested for him. That's how he builds wealth. Said no one rich ever.
I mean, banks use this product to.
No, they do
money.
not. You've been watching too much TikTok. Banks do not use whole life. Not ever. Banks nowhere, no banks sell.
Dave just said banks do not use whole life, ever. So technically, Dave's right, because banks buy bully, bank-owned life insurance. But bank-owned life insurance is the exact same thing as whole life, just different tax structures because it's banks. Look it up. Go to Google and type in bully, B-O-L-I, and then compare that to a whole life.
B-O-L-I, bank-owned life insurance and corporate-owned life insurance are the number one performing asset. So they know how to use these correctly. And, banks absolutely will loan against even cash value in the policy. Again, you know what I mean? If they get to hold that policy as collateral, absolutely, that is strong collateral. So you can indeed leverage the fact that someday you're going to die, because the moment they sign that contract agreeing, this multi-billion-dollar insurance company agrees to pay X amount of dollars on your death, boom. That's a piece of property. It's a contractual piece of property, and it's worth the face of that death benefit. There's another area that I'm licensed in that's called life settlements. There's lots of people that sell their whole life policies, and people buy them. They're a strong asset. So anyway,
Where Dave Ramsey's saying, no, they don't. No, they don't.
They do not use whole life insurance.
What bank?
Well, we could Google it and see what typically banks do with their money, but I believe
typically banks never put money. Let me tell you what banks do. They put it in bonds. They're required to.
Holy crap. Dave is literally putting his foot in his mouth. Dave is literally saying that banks don't buy life insurance. Folks, go to fdic.gov. That is a federal website. Type in BOLI. Give me the definition. Hell, I'll give it to you right now. See? There it is, the definition of BOLI. And Dave just said banks don't buy life insurance with their tier 1 capital. They only buy bonds. That right there should be all I need to tell you. If you're listening to somebody that like convincingly and that can he's so stuck in his own head saying that they don't buy life insurance, it's insane.
It's not a place to invest money because it's a horrible investment.
Dave's right. Whole life insurance is not an investment because it's guaranteed. Dave wants you to invest
it's a
money.
Financial instrument to use for your investments. That because all of the loans that you take against your cash value are collateralized by the death benefit. So that's why you don't ever even have to pay the loans back. If you have $1 million death benefit and you take a loan against your cash value for $100,000, your cash value goes down, and then your death benefit goes down. So then instead of getting, getting $1 million, they get $900,000. So that's why, if you structure a policy for maximum cash value, you know what I mean? You're using it as a different type of instrument than just buying a death benefit.
Risk. Do you want a bunch of risk with Dave Ramsey, or do you want guarantees with the whole life? Whole life is not an investment. So again, Dave's right. You don't invest in whole life. You use whole life as a savings vehicle, a place to park your capital.
The rate of return
4%.
sucks.
The rate of return sucks compared to what? Compared to what? I'm sorry, Dave, the rate of return sucks compared to what? Compares to your bank account? Because your bank account's probably paying you 0 to, I don't know, what is it paying you, Dave? What's your bank accounts at your special bank paying you? They're guaranteed returns. So if a whole life policy pays you a guaranteed 3.25%, that doesn't include the dividend, just the guaranteed interest. Is that a good guaranteed interest rate if it's tax-free? Some of you would say yes, some of you would say no. Then tell me, where can you get a guaranteed tax-free rate of return for 3.25% every single year? It can never change. If the Fed drops rates, the whole life insurance contract will guarantee you the same interest rate for the rest of your life. Where else can you get that? So Dave Ramsey, where's your basis? What are you saying the rate of return sucks to compared to what?
See, they like the whole guaranteed. You can get a guaranteed, interest rate that you earn on your money plus dividends. The dividends, of course, are not guaranteed, even though they'll have a 100-year history of paying dividends. Dividends are not guaranteed, so you are right there assuming a little bit of risk. So that's assuming that they're going to continue to pay those dividends. But again, if something happens with the market, they do not have to pay dividends. So anyways, they like that guaranteed, but to me, that's too slow a growth. I'm not interested in only making 5-6%. If I could make more in my insurance policy that has principal protection, if I could earn more interest than that, then I'm willing to assume a little more risk. And that's where the indexed universal life product comes in, because I would rather while the market's doing good, then boom, I get my client Josh made like 24.6% on his money. So he did really good on his first year. So he's put in in February, he put in his second year of premium of $25,000 a year premium, and he already has $39,000 available in cash value for him to borrow against, and we still got 6 months left of 2025 here, or excuse me, 2026. So I mean, he's still got 6 months left, and he's already at 39 grand in cash value that he can take a loan against and still earn interest on his full 50,000 as though he never touched the money, because he didn't. He borrowed the insurance company's money against his cash value. Boom. So now he's liquid for 39 grand after putting 50 grand into the policy. That now that 50 grand will get uninterrupted compounding interest till the day he dies, until the end of that contract. That's what permanent and whole life means. You have it for your whole life, not just for a term. So anyway.
Compared to a bank account, a money market, a CD, all of those returns are not relevant because they all can change. This guaranteed interest rate does not change. This guaranteed interest rate is tax-free if built properly. So this is what I'm talking about with Dave Ramsey. He just keeps burying himself further and further.
And when you die, you lose your cash value.
And when you die, you lose your cash value. Refer back to the drawing.
I know, but you also, you're making it sound like I'm losing money on the whole.
You are. You're leaving money on the table.
You're making it sound like when, not me, but my son, when he dies, that he's only going to be able to get
He's going to have $22 million less than he should have.
$22 million less than he should have. Dave isn't factoring in estate taxes, isn't federal estate taxes or state estate taxes, because at $25 million, you got an estate tax problem. Call any attorney. You're going to be giving the federal government roughly 40% of your money because of estate taxes. Dave's not talking about that. Oh no. Dave's not talking about all the taxes you would have to pay on all that gain over that many years. Dave's not talking about any of that stuff. Not talking about the fees from the mutual funds either.
If you had put this in a good investment.
Well, you had mentioned that the cash value dies and you only get the face value. That's
correct.
Not true.
That is true.
That's not.
I just covered that with you for the last 10 minutes. Paid up additions are the only way that cash value increases, unless you're using a universal life program B, where you pay extra to get the extra insurance, which is another form of paid up additions.
That isn't coming out of my pocket, though. I put $70,000.
It is coming out of your pocket.
It's coming out of the policy's pocket.
I know. The policy, you put the money in, dude, and then it paid you a dividend, and you chose to buy more of this crap with the dividend, and you're calling that I kept my cash value. No, you didn't. You bought more insurance.
Well, I know that I put in $70,000, and at a certain age, it's going to be at age when he's 15 years old, that's going to be paid up.
Yeah, Jim, and you understand what paid up is. You understand if you're alive that there's a probability of your death. And so 100% of the time that a life insurance program is paid up, it means that you prepaid it. That's all it means. Because as long as there's a probability of death, there's a cost. So the insurance company has always got a cost as long as you're alive. So there is no such thing as a paid up. That's an industry term that gets suckers like you. That's what it is. Now, paid up means prepaid. You paid all of the premiums in 13 years for his whole freaking life in advance. That's why it's paid up. Hey, man, I think you ought to keep it. It's perfect for you. But thanks for the call.
I don't even know how all of you could watch that video and literally think Dave makes a good point there. I mean, after I just went through and drew things out and explained it, like Jim was right, but Dave came in with technicalities that mean absolutely nothing. Because let me ask you all a question, and I'm going to slow this down because I'm from New York. I talk fast. So let's do this super slow. When you are looking to buy a life insurance policy, what are the reasons you buy it? Number one, to protect your family in the event of you dying too soon. Define too soon. To me, too soon is any time before God tells me it's my time. And I'd like to live into my 90s, maybe even a little bit more. Like, I don't want to have to time my death like I would with term. So you're buying a life insurance death benefit to be paid out whenever you die on your terms. Secondarily, when you buy a permanent life insurance policy, you want to make sure that that death benefit will pay out for your entire life, unlike term insurance, which pays out for a term of time. Understand that? Term insurance is like renting your insurance for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, however long of a term you buy. You're renting it. You have no equity. Buying a whole life or any other permanent life insurance, you're building equity over time. Cash value. So when you're buying a whole life, you're getting a death benefit for your whole life and cash value, which grows at a guaranteed interest rate. Plus, if it's a mutually owned company, pays you dividends every single year, which if you take the dividends and do what they're doing, put them in paid up additions, then those paid up additions increase your death benefit and also increase your cash value, contrary to what Dave is trying to say, which made no sense. Some of you actually probably got stupider by watching Dave Ramsey's video. But as you put money in paid up additions, you get more cash value, of which you can use the cash value anytime for anything, anywhere, and you get more death benefit so that someday when you die on your terms, your family gets more money.
Mo
We understand
money,
that, right?
tax
That's just
free,
the product.
versus
the infinite
going and
banking.
invested it in mutual funds and paying capital gains. And then, of course, when you die, it's a pain in the ass to even get those, mutual funds unless they're properly structured into a trust or something. A lot more to it. Dave's just trying to complicate your life, and that's go play in the casino is fucking Dave's advice. Bad advice.
Concept, and you completely change the dynamic of your entire financial future. The policy, whole life term, that doesn't solve the problem. It just escalates it. It just makes it more efficient for you to solve the problem. The infinite banking concept, which Dave completely skipped over, didn't even want to talk about it because he doesn't understand it, is what makes the difference. The policy just makes your money work for you more efficiently. If you want to learn more about the infinite banking concept, and
then you need to talk to Brother Brandon, because Brandon's going to show you a much better way to go here. So this, let me see. Where did I put it? Da-na-na-na. Go back to it. Where is it? Let me find it. Here we go. All right. So this is more the camp that I'm in as far as which instrument you're going to use when using the infinite banking strategy. That's all it is a strategy. The insurance policy is an instrument to, number one, give you a death benefit. Number two, to give you complete principal protection on your money from losses. That's why, Warren Buffett's rule number one is don't lose money. Well, here's the way to do that. Even if you can, you like a little risk and you want to go invest in things, put it in your policy first so your money's protected. It's going to get uninterrupted compounding interest. Take a loan against your cash value to go invest in whatever you want. Now your money's working in two places at once. So anyhow, this is Doug Andrews, and it's, even though he sounds a little car salesman-y, dude, the guy is, definitely correct.
IUL dwarfs whole life. In this episode, I'm going to address the topic infinite banking with IUL versus whole life insurance. Get ready, because you're going to understand some things that most whole life agents do not understand.
They don't. They have no clue what this asset actually is. And designed and used properly.
So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped many, many thousands of people save for their brighter future, for retirement, business owners, real estate investors, by understanding the merits of max funded life insurance. Now, why do people overfund or maximum fund a life insurance policy? I'm going to explain why and give you the basic difference between whole life and universal life, and why a properly structured maximum funded indexed universal life will knock the socks off of a whole life insurance policy for the infinite banking concept. So,
this week, we're hosting a free trading and investing workshop right here in Scottsdale. Inside this,
in a nutshell, for years, there were two types of life insurance: term insurance and whole life insurance. Term insurance is where you are simply paying for the pure cost, the mortality cost, if you happen to pass away. And so you pay a premium based upon your age and your health and so forth, based upon the mortality table. Term insurance does not accumulate cash, generally speaking. And so if you win, you have to die. But see, when you pass away, it pays out a death benefit. So it's a nice way, an inexpensive way to insure yourself. But term insurance gets more expensive through the years as you get older. So whole life insurance came around because people wanted to have insurance protection for their whole life, but they didn't want to have to keep paying higher premiums every year that they got older, because when you're 60, 70, 80 years old, you may not be able to afford those high premiums. So whole life insurance basically said, well, if you pay a higher premium in the early years, you're going to be way overpaying in the early years, but that will build up equity in your policy. It's called cash value, and that will cover you for your whole life because you overpay the early years, which allows you to underpay the later years because you have cash that's earning interest inside that whole life policy that allows you to pay a level premium your whole life, and you have enough cash buildup that the interest on that and that cash value will make up the difference in your later years. That's called whole life. And so whole life has guarantees. Life insurance ever since the 1980s was built on a chassis that was based upon a 4% guaranteed fixed interest rate. Well, whole life has merits because it's structured to be able to give those guarantees. But in a low interest environment like we have been in recently, where a lot of banks and so forth and the Fed rates and the US treasuries are under 1%, how are insurance companies going to continue to be able to cover you for your whole life based upon 4% when they're not able to earn 4% maybe? This is putting insurance companies into a bind. And so that's why in the wee hours of the very end of the year 2020, Congress passed, as part of that big stimulus legislation, changes to Section 7702 of the Internal Revenue Code. I have other episodes I'm going to be releasing that explain this, but that is going to take the guarantee down to 2%. So the guarantees inside of whole life are not going to mean that much anymore. Whole life insurance is going to have to perform based upon dividends and interest. I can prove to you that indexed universal life will knock the socks off of whole life as far as rates of return, and that's because of the historical average rates of return. But also, if you're using life insurance for what is called infinite banking to become your own banker, indexed universal life will dwarf what whole life insurance can do. So let me explain why and how. Now, if what I've said so far is intriguing you, subscribe to this Three-Dimensional Wealth channel. It's free, and I post an in-depth answer to questions almost daily. And as this topic relates to several others, you will gain insights into how to maximum fund an insurance policy, universal life versus whole life. There's a lot of people out there that tout that whole life is better, and they usually quote the guarantees. That's all changing. So as this evolves, especially now, you're going to want to tune in and see how you can benefit yourself, and why indexed universal life, I think, is by far the best product if you want to accumulate tax-free capital. If all you want is death benefit, whole life's a pretty good product, but universal life can still do well. But with universal life, you're self-insuring. In the policies that I structure, most people are self-insured within 10 to 15 years, meaning the cash inside the insurance policy is within 5% of the death benefit within 15 years. So the cost of the insurance is next to nothing. In other words, if you put in $500,000 and the amount of insurance required for it to be tax-free for a 60-year-old was $1,250,000, that $500,000 has grown to $1 million within 7 to 10 years. And in another 7 to 10 years, it's going to grow to $2 million. Well, that's more than the insurance. So the insurance stays ahead of it by 5 percentage points. Indexed universal life is by far the cheapest insurance policy when it's structured properly you will ever see, because it gets cheaper as you get older. You don't need guarantees because the cash equals the death benefit, or almost equals it, based upon the TEFRA-DEFRA tax citations, which I explain in other episodes. Now, let me explain why people would even consider using an insurance policy as their own bank. Life insurance for over 100 years is a sacred cow. In the Internal Revenue Code under Section 72E, 7702, and 101A, it explains that money inside of a permanent life insurance policy, and by the way, indexed universal life didn't come out until 1997. Universal life came out in 1980. Who came up with it? It wasn't an insurance company. It was a brokerage firm, E.F. Hutton.
Serve your town, support your church, plus get your first paying client within 90 days, guaranteed in writing. It's more than just
This
income,
absolutely
it's impact.
disgusts
I'm
me.
Douglas James, and
this garbage. Make money off your first clients. Start your own little church. Wow, you're a fucking idiot. You definitely never read a Bible.
This is where I immediately recognize this is like buy term and invest the difference under a tax-free umbrella. It's like on steroids. Well, it's true when you use universal life for the infinite banking concept. It's like infinite banking on steroids. So TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA are tax citations. Section 72E, 7702, and 101A say that when you put money into an insurance policy and you take the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with, it accumulates your money tax-free. You can access that money tax-free. And when you die, it blossoms. It increases in value and transfers income tax-free. Nothing else does that I'm aware of in the Internal Revenue Code. This is where I have earned rates of return of 6%, 8%, 10%. I'm talking about net internal rate of return, cash on cash. Now, since it's sort of a sacred cow, whole life insurance oftentimes has been touted for infinite banking, because when you build up this cash value and the guarantees were based upon 4%, you can borrow money out of your whole life policy and they'll charge you a nominal interest rate, and then they'll keep crediting you a little bit higher interest rate. So if you borrowed at 2, you might be guaranteed 4. So you're being guaranteed twice as much as they're charging you, which is good. But folks, all they've ever been able to say is, well, universal life doesn't have the guarantees whole life has. Well, looks like the guarantees are going to go down to 2%. So that's not such a big deal anymore. And it never has been with universal life, because the cost of insurance, I don't need the guarantee anymore, because my cash grows to equal the death benefit, and the death benefit then stays ahead of it by 5 percentage points. If I have 2 million of cash value, the death benefit's going to be 2.1 million. If I end up with 4 million of insurance, then the death benefit's going to be 4.2 million. Most of the money is my money. So the cost of insurance goes down as you get older. Now, I explained this in other episodes. But let me share with you why the banking concept is so dynamic with indexed universal life compared to whole life. With indexed universal life insurance, I have two ways that I can borrow money. One is called a zero cost or zero wash loan. So let's say I have $1 million of cash value, and it doesn't matter if it's 100,000, a million, or 10 million. People use their insurance for the banking concept to buy real estate, to use for working capital for business, and so forth. If you don't understand this concept, watch other episodes where I explain how to become your own banker. So let's say I have $1 million of cash value. If it was a whole life policy, I could borrow that and they will credit me a little bit higher interest rate. And I'm paying myself interest as I put money back into the policy and so forth. Folks, that's okay. Yeah, if you borrow it 2 and you earn 4% is 100% more than 2%. I get it. But those guarantees are going down. With indexed universal life, I've always been able to borrow it 2 and they credit me 2. And people say, well, that's a wash. Well, that's not the way I usually borrow. I can do that. I opt for the indexed or participating loan. This is where the insurance company goes, well, you can leave your money with us as collateral, and we'll keep crediting you whatever the index or indices that you're linked to are earning. So many, many years I have earned 10%, 16, 25, even 55%. Some years I don't earn that, but the average has been 8, 9, 10%. So let's, to keep it simple, say 10. If I'm earning.
See, I'm one of the, there's maybe 5,000 insurance agents on the, in the United States that have access to the Annexus products. And Annexus is a company out of Scottsdale that all they do is design index products. So, and anyhow, they're very particular about who can actually sell their product and represent them properly. So, anyways, that's where you have to go through some kind of stringent testing to make sure that you even understand their product. So, anyways, most people do not. That's why the performance for my client, I mean, he's getting really good performance, and there's even history on his this 3-year product that I allocate most of his money to. There's been years where they received like 103% interest credit. So bam, you know what I mean? That's a big old chunky interest credit. So you can watch that cash value grow very quickly. And that's the whole thing. Like, I mean, Josh is required to pay 25 grand a year in premium. He's paid his 2nd year premium and already has enough in cash value. He can take a loan and pay his next year's premium if need be. So, I mean, that's amazing to me that he's already liquid for 39 grand and you've only put in 50 grand and it's only been like 16 or what, 15 months. That's amazing. So anyways,
10%. Wait a minute here. I'm borrowing money. Now, this is called an indexed or participating loan. They're going to charge you a little bit higher interest. So they might charge me 4 or 5%. Let's say 5. So they're charging me 5% to borrow on an index loan. So on that $1 million I borrowed, they're going to charge 50,000. Do I have to write out a check for that? No. It's really just sort of a phantom loan in the first place, but they deduct the 50,000 from the 100,000 I earned that year. Because if I earn 10% on my million that is still sitting in the policy that's being used as collateral for the $1 million they loan me at 5%, I'm earning 100% more than the cost of the funds. So I'm earning 50,000. It's way better than a measly little 2%, maybe in a whole life policy. But do you know that I have had many, many clients
And the particular product that I'm in love with right now, I mean, it's a competitive market. So if a different insurance company comes out with a better offer, then, boom, that'll probably be my new, that'll be the favorite product. But anyways, my current favorite product, like they have a loan. They have three different loan types anyway. So, but they have their they have a fixed loan, they have a variable loan, and then they have an indexed loan. I always recommend to my clients to take their variable loan because basically, like for example, if they're going to charge you 4.5% to take a loan against your cash value, when you pay the loan back, they give you a 5% credit. So you literally, paid less than 0% interest on the money. You can't get cheaper than that. You actually earned a 0.5% arbitrage for borrowing their money. You know what I mean? That's where you need the lowest amount. You want to be charged. You want the lowest interest rate possible when you're taking a loan, and then you of course want the highest interest to be earned on your money that is indexed, so that if you earn 24%, you know what I mean, and they charged you 4% interest on your loan, you're still making the spread of 20% on your money at all times. So that's why these policies are far superior than the idea of uh, buying term and investing the rest. That is terrible financial advice. Dave Ramsey he's a shill, dude. Wake up, people. His largest sponsor is Term Life Insurance Company. Give me a break. How fucking obvious can it be? How do people not see the scam? And it drives me nuts. Anyways.
Who, for their business, for their real estate management, where they borrow money to build or to buy real estate properties, they have borrowed that money at 5%, and they have earned sometimes 16, 25, even 55% on indexed universal life. In other words, you borrow $1 million, they charge you $50,000. It's deducted automatically from the 25% that people earned in 2017, for example. They paid you $250,000 minus the $50,000. You netted 20% or $200,000. This is like infinite banking on steroids. Indexed universal life will dwarf whole life as far as the spread. What's the spread? The difference between the net cost to borrow and the net amount you're earning on the compounding inside the policy. And the longer it goes, if you keep earning 100% more than they're charging you, this one compounds and grows tax-free. Pretty soon, you're earning, let's say 10% on twice as much money that you're paying interest on. But as it grows, you can keep borrowing more money. This just keeps getting better and better and better as you go. So if you're intrigued with infinite banking, becoming your own banker, I can show you, I can illustrate that a properly structured indexed universal.
So, I mean, in short, what they mean by be your own banker is now you have financial leverage. You have access to cheap money while your money is, is earning, it's expensive. You know what I'm saying? You're keeping your money expensive because it's earning, 15, 20, 30, 55%. And it only costs you, 4% to borrow their money. So, yep, I'm going to leave my money alone, getting uninterrupted compounding interest. And then as my cash value and my death benefit continue to grow, boom, you know what I mean? That's where it's, then this is how I can transfer wealth to my heirs completely tax-free. No, you know what I mean? And another beautiful feature about these type of policies, a lot of married guys like this one. especially if they've been through a divorce. Once that money goes into your policy, you can't even sue for it. They can't even touch it in a lawsuit. So it's always there. And we can design these policies to where you only pay premium for, say, 10 years and no more. Then you have enough accumulation or growth happening that you don't need to even put in any more premium or don't want to. It just depends on what your goals are as to how we will design the policy. So, anyways, if anybody ever wants to learn more about this and see an actual illustration of what happens to your money, you can contact me at UNI for USA at gmail.com. That's UNI, the number 4, USA at gmail.com. And we'll set up a Zoom meeting and I'll show you an actual illustration so you can see, with how much you want to put in. So that's the whole thing is, the amount of money you want to pack into this thing. And this is what I try to impress upon people. The IRS put limits on how much money you can pack into these things. That's what their MEC rules are all about. Because in the early 80s, all the wealthy people were throwing all their money into these policies. And the IRS was like, whoa, wait a minute. So that's why they put the MEC limits on it. So this is why you need it to be structured properly with someone that even understands how this instrument works for maximum efficiency. And believe it or not, that is Brother Brandon's specialty. A lot of these guys selling insurance, even this guy, he don't know what I know. You know what I mean? So I do serious homework. I don't play. So that's where I don't know. He may know, he may be in love with the same product as me right now. I don't know. Couldn't say. So, but anyhow, the particular product that I love right now is doing very well. I'm super impressed. You know what I mean? It's only year 2. By like year 3 or 4, Josh should already be at like break even. So if he's put in $100,000, he'll have like 103 or 4,000 in cash value. He'll have more available in cash value than he's actually put into the policy. So I mean, it may it could be 5 or 6 years before he hits his break even. You know what I mean? But that's the whole point. Now you're always liquid. That's nice. And all your money's always protected. So you could, if you had $100,000 in cash value, you could take a loan against your cash value, go to Vegas, piss it all away, lose every penny. And you lost the insurance company's money, not your money. Your money's still getting uninterrupted compounding interest. So over time, you will recoup your losses. That's why principal protection is such a wonderful thing in these policies, because with these policies, the worst thing that can happen is if the market totally crashes and we have a full-on meltdown, then that year you just won't get an interest credit. You'll just get a 0, but none of your principal can ever go down once it's been credited. It's just a total ratchet effect. You know what I'm saying? So it just continues to go up. Nice and reliable, safe, steady. Now, if you want to go risk money in investments and stuff in different stocks like Elon or any of that, you take a loan against your cash value, go play. If you lose, because you don't ever have to pay the loan back, because the loan is collateralized by the death benefit. So that's why over time you will recoup all of your losses. It's kind of like a, financial self-healing tool, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm in love with this product. It's not snake oil stuff, it's math. The maths when you actually do the math. That's why this is the smartest way to manage your money and pass on generational wealth to your family. If people would think more in terms of generational wealth, that's why the Bible even states, you're to leave a good man will leave an inheritance for his children's children. I'm sure I'm botching the verse, but anyway, because you should be thinking long term, man. It's not what you make, it's what you save. If you don't even know how many, rock stars have claimed, look at MC Hammer. He made all that money and didn't save shit. Has no savings out, might be sucking dick for rocks by now. I don't know. So I'm just saying. So you see it all the time. They make all this money. I've watched so many sales guys make, one guy in particular just got a $60,000 paycheck on a Friday and comes to me 2 weeks later saying, I need a draw. I was like, what? You've got to be kidding me, dude. It's the worst money management I ever saw. So anyhow, that's the problem. People don't manage money well because they think, inflation's just going to sit there and eat up my savings. Well, that's because you're stupid and you're letting the banks rape you. This is why you need to grab a hold of this infinite banking or be your own bank concept. So it always keeps your money growing. It always keeps your money safe. Banks, went down. 468 banks or whatever went down in 2008. Zero insurance companies went down. So, life insurance is a totally different game than casualty insurance. So, do not conflate the two. This is an honest product with genuine benefits that actually help people to get out of the frickin' financial matrix that they're stuck in with the banking system. So, anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this little presentation here. And I will start another stream and put in the link if anybody wants to jump in and talk about anything. But I want to use this for to show some of my potential clients. You know what I mean? This is the real Brandon. Deal with it. I'm not going to kiss your ass like a nice little insurance salesman. I'm just telling you, this makes good financial sense. Has a lot of other features to it that I will explain to where you'll probably arrive at the same conclusion as me. Well, why would you worry about health insurance then? Good question. If you have one of these policies, why would you need health insurance? That's right. So anyways, if you guys want help with it, you can email me or let me know. I'm telling you right now, if you saw the type of policies that I design, you will say, I want one. This is smart. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Over and out.